Hi, I'm Essie.
And I'm Elle.
Welcome back to Magic and Mayhem.
Okay, so for our December book club pick, and this was in fact based solely on the fact that there was a gingerbread man on the front, so that seemed Christmassy, kind of. But our pick was A Wizard's Guide to Defensive Baking by Kingfisher. It's fiction, obviously. Fantasy, young adult, I think. Ish.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Either young adult or middle grade. I don't know.
I don't think it was middle grade. I think it was young adult.
Probably.
Is it a part of a series?
No.
I don't think it is.
No.
The cover looks similar to some of the other works.
Yeah, she has some of the same branding on some of her other books, but they're not.
But yeah, I don't think they're related.
I don't think they're even in the same universe. Some of hers are, but I don't think these are part of it.
But I did notice how similar it looks like to the mage one. But yeah, I don't think they're connected.
That's because they're all her. She wrote them to be middle grade, but she was told they're too dark to be middle grade. Even though she's like, but it's cute, I heard it, and they're like, no, these aren't. So that's why she instead of, because she publishes middle grade under her actual name. Kingfisher is her name for things that she couldn't publish under her name because they're not middle grade enough. So there's 3, as far as I know, which is the one we read, Minor Mage, and Illuminations, I think, is the 3rd one.
Sounds right.
And but yeah, they were all under Kingfisher because they were like, you're not putting this out as middle grade.
I actually read it first,
Which is funny because I actually strong-armed her to read it with me for our book club pick. She didn't necessarily really want to read it, and I made her do it. But then she read it first, so.
Yes. So that was kind of entertaining.
To be fair, I did ask her several times if she was okay with reading it.
Oh, yeah. No, I wasn't unhappy about it. I wasn't at all unhappy.
Are we really that shocked, though? Because I feel like this is normally what happens. I'm like, let's read this. And you're like, okay, reads it. And I'm like, yeah, I'll get to it.
Well, except for here, I told you earlier, here was me bemoaning the rest of my TBR page count. And then me also picking up a 500-page book that had no relation to my TBR whatsoever.
I say that might also just be my bad influence. So basically, we're both a mess.
Yeah, that's very true. Because sometimes ADHD brain is like, yeah, do the thing. Other times,
it's like we would literally rather die than do the thing.
Yes, exactly.
Would literally rather die.
I would rather die.
You're like, okay, great, wonderful.
On this occasion, my brain was perfectly fine with getting this read in a single night or evening or...
Which wasn't your plan, was it?
No, it was not my plan.
I didn't think it was.
I was not planning that at all. I intended even, I think, to take my time with it a little bit.
Oh, that's cute.
I know. It didn't happen. Didn't happen at all.
Best laid plans.
Because I was enjoying it. So obviously I wasn't going to put it down. Even though I should have.
I am really glad you enjoyed it because I would have felt really bad if I made you read it for book club and you were like, this is the worst thing I've ever read.
No. I enjoyed it. And actually, I rather liked that it was a bit longer than the normal Kingfisher books. It gave you a little bit more time to kind of get to know the characters. And not that I'm not saying in any way that her other characters aren't well developed, her other books aren't good. They are, the ones that I've read. Having a little bit longer of a book still gave me more time to kind of submerge into things. Yeah.
And I feel like in Wizard's Guide, side note, we do talk about spoilers if you're new here, so if you don't want any spoilers for the book, it's been nice to see you. We'll see you next time. But I feel like in this book you could actually literally read and see at the point she would have normally stopped for any of her other books. And this one she didn't. She kept going, which was really nice.
Yeah, there was that turning point And then we kept going.
And I was like, oh, okay.
But I definitely think that was a good choice because the story was for sure not over at that point.
No.
It was
it would have been kind of unsatisfying if it had stopped there.
The points had not come to fruition yet in the book, so it would have been a bit tragic to leave it there, especially considering the book is so well done and the points are so well put, I guess.
Yeah, well said, yeah.
There we go, that's better. I liked how the book led you, like it kept building suspense. We started off with Mona just being a baker with a weird starter creature.
I love Bob, though.
I know, Bob
deeply.
is so fantastic.
So deeply, I love Bob.
Bob is wonderful and and definitely a favorite character, one of them. Bob was just
delightful.
Highlight of this book. I liked how it gradually built up. Yeah. And you're just kind of, at first, it's like, oh, this is so cute. This is so cute. Oh.
Yeah, it just keeps getting worse. You're like, oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
You go through the 5 stages of grief.
You really do.
You're like, oh, there went my cute little story. Where she's just in a bakery doing stuff.
I always say, of the ones that I read for her that are like I can't, air quotes, you won't be able to see. I was going to do air quotes, y'all can't see it. But the ones that are like middle grade, but the 2 dark ones, the other ones I read, I was very much like, yeah, there's stakes, but like you kind of know it's going to be okay. This one I was genuinely like, it might not be okay.
Yeah, it was very perfectly possible that it wasn't going to be okay.
You're like, this might not end well. Actually.
Because, yeah, Mona's like, she's a cute little baker girl, and then all of a sudden there's dead bodies, and
everything is going wrong.
And, like, it's we start out with dancing gingerbread men, and suddenly there are dead people.
Yeah. You're like, what?
Well, spoiler, she meets Spindle when, right after his sister's murdered.
Yeah, after she gets back from being questioned in the castle.
By Oberon and all these.
The Duchess.
The Duchess.
And the Gold General? What was the name of the general?
I think a Gold General was.
Was it Gold General?
I'm pretty sure that's right.
Okay. So, yeah, it was literally right after that when she was walking home.
And I felt it was so relatable when, like, he grabs her and, like, she's like, I'm so tired. I don't really even care. I don't care anymore. Kill me, do whatever. I really just don't care anymore. I do not care.
Relatable. If I die, I die.
She's had, like, the worst day
ever.
It rained on her. She had to walk a really long way.
She got accused of murder.
That too. Yes. When she literally had absolutely nothing to do with it. She just found the body of this poor girl. She's like, what do I was just at the wrong place at the wrong time. What do you want from
And they're
me?
like, what are you doing there at 4 a.m.? She's like, I'm a baker. What do you think I was doing there at 4 a.m.? That's when we start working, just because you lazy and sleeping.
Right? What were you doing there?
My job. Which I've done. For like the last 4 years. I would not have done well in that situation because the amount of sass I would have had, they would be like, throw her in jail.
Right. To go directly to jail.
They'd be like, clearly she did it. Like, nope, just can't keep my mouth shut.
Basically. I was almost expecting, like, at that point, Aunt Tabitha to also get put in jail because she too is like, the sass is abundant.
I love Aunt Tabitha.
Yeah. I love her aunt and uncle. Uncle Albert is also very, very sweet. I also like how afraid of Bob he is.
Right? I mean, to be fair, he has a reason to be.
Especially in the end.
Yep.
But I did feel really bad for Spindle, though.
Oh my gosh, I
He
felt
was so
horrible for
sad.
Spindle.
His poor sister, too, even though we never met her, but...
Right?
So you didn't feel quite so sad about her death because you just see her body, but he was her little brother, and that was so sad.
Yeah, I felt horrible for him. Like, you don't get to connect with her, but, like, you do with him.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, you just want to give the poor kid a hug, even though he would hate that, so don't actually give him a hug. But, and I completely understand his reaction of just immediate denial.
Mm-hmm.
Just immediate denial. Even though, obviously, it is true, but...
Yeah. Well, and she knew it was true, too. Although, it was kind of sweet. She kept trying to soften the blow of being like, yeah, by the way, your sister's no longer going to be around.
Yeah.
But also, she was so tired. She's like, I'm not being as delicate as I
should be.
Would be.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, is normally she is a very sweet, very, considerate person. But when you're had a day like that and you're going through it, they were going through, you lose a little bit of that.
But it was also sweet how once she got in trouble again, Spindle came to her rescue right away.
Yeah.
And he didn't really have to.
Oh, no, he didn't have to at all. He just chose to.
Although, the scene where the two of them were standing on the bread, like surfing.
Being the bread, that was so great.
And they worked so well together somehow.
Well, yeah.
Even though they didn't know each other that well, but they were running. And all of a sudden, here they are surfing down the rapids on
bread.
Tiny pieces of bread.
Well, I thought it was so cute, the amount of confidence he had in her. And she's like, I can only work with bread. And he's like, here.
He's like, here, do something.
Fix it. And she's like, I don't know what to do. But he had complete confidence. She would think of something.
So she had to do something.
So she had to do something because he's like, you said bread. I have some. There you go. Now fix it.
And she's like, oh, man.
She's like, I'm 14. What do you... Like, I know I'm older than you, but... Yeah. She's like, what do you want me to do with this? But she did think of something, so... Yeah. And I would have loved to have watched them go down.
I mean, I had a pretty good mental picture.
I did.
Also, you get the great mental picture of these guards
faces
just standing there watching these children go down like these rivers,
this canal,
standing on
pieces of bread,
and they're just like, wait, what?
They're like, we did not see that coming.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, cracked me up. Because it's like one of those, yes, it's a tense scene because obviously they're being chased and it would be very bad if they got caught, but at the same time it's not, because you're like, they're literally floating on bread.
Yes, just
pieces of bread. Also the fact that Spindle was better at it than she was, which I was like, you literally are the wizard.
You're the wizard, and you're like. But to be fair, she had a lot to focus on.
That's true. She had to focus on keeping the bread afloat because there's no way that should have worked.
So Spindle was then like, okay, well, if she's doing this, I have to keep her up.
Yeah.
So they worked well together.
Well, and I think part of it is the fact that he had more confidence in her than she had in her.
Yes.
That he was like, she says it's gonna float, it's gonna float.
And she is the wizard.
She is the wizard, so why... And I'm sure, with his sister being a wizard, he just was used to accepting that whatever his sister said was going to happen, so... He's like, alright, she says it's gonna float. It'll be fine. Whereas Mona's like, it might not float. She's like, I'm worried.
But it worked, didn't it?
Worked, didn't it?
But that was a funny scene. I mean, it wasn't funny before when the spring green man tried to kill her, and
no, that wasn't funny.
And that was creepy, actually.
Oh my gosh, I hated him.
Creepy dude.
He is so creepy. I was like, what? You know what's even funnier? I called his death shortly after we met him because I don't remember something had happened. And Molly had shown up later, and I was just like, just have the horse kick his head in. And that's literally how he died. And I was like, what? I was like, no.
Molly just rushes in and the horse is like, bitch.
Right?
Just die.
Because I think, weren't they running from him?
Yeah. Well, everyone was running from, every magic user was running from him.
But... Well, I know, but where wasn't Mona and Spindle like running from him, and they ran into Molly at some point, like shortly thereafter? And they were like worried about him showing up, and I was like, just have the horse kick his head in. Mm-hmm. Like, you don't have to worry about it. And then he literally died because I kicked him.
Yes.
And I was like, that's not possible. Keep talking, sorry.
It was funny how Molly's like, okay, stay here, do not leave. And Spindle's like, do not leave. And Mona's like, no, I'm gonna leave.
I was like, Mona. Dumb. When the people that know the area tell you to stay put, you stay put.
Yes, and she's like, nah, I'm gonna do this.
I'll go get the authorities. They're gonna help. Yeah, okay.
Right. Okay. That always works.
Yeah, they clearly have been so helpful up to this point.
Mm-hmm. And then she's like, oh, by the way, Spindle, now that you were right.
Yeah, you were right, and also now I need you to save me.
Yes.
So sorry. But I'll save you back by making you float on bread.
Mm-hmm. So that whole scene was pretty fantastic.
It was.
But I also, too, I was just like, so at that point, when she left, when Mona told her not to, I was like, girl.
You mean Molly told her not to?
Oh, yes. Well, Spindle and Molly. Yeah, what did I say?
Mona.
No. When Mona did the thing that Molly and Spindle told her not to.
Why'd they make both the female characters start with M?
I know. But, yeah, it was like, that was something.
Just like, why?
Something that's like, I know you're 14, but.
And naive.
At least she did learn from that mistake.
Yeah.
And she did not go running off when she shouldn't. The next
after that,
time she stayed.
She's like,
the next
time. Never mind.
But I was also really, I was a little concerned that one time she was talking to that one monk. I was like, oh no, he's probably gonna turn her in, but he didn't.
So he's like, I can't see you, so it doesn't matter.
I think he was partially lying though. He said he was deaf, but he could obviously hear. So he wasn't really.
He just pretends to be.
Yeah.
Which, I mean,
to comfort her. He's like, yeah, don't worry. But I was worried when she ran into him. I was like, oh no.
I was also worried when she went to the Duchess, because I was like, there is no guarantee that the Duchess is going to be on your side about this.
Yes. But although that whole entire scene was hilarious.
Loved it so much. And just the way that the Duchess handled everything. And I was just like, honestly.
Well, I mean, so they climb up basically through what counted as the toilet. Imagine being the Duchess, though.
I know it. Because she walks in and Spindle's completely out. But Mona's stuck.
She's stuck
in the toilet. She can't get out.
Spindle's like, there's this. So from the Duchess' perspective, she goes in to have her bathroom break, and there you find this small child trying to pull out another child from your toilet.
Also, we're talking about the fact that for whatever reason, my brain was like, but she never goes to the bathroom for the whole next however long.
But yeah, I know.
She never goes.
I know.
Like, is she holding it?
She forgot she needed to after that kind of a scene.
Apparently. She's like, I'll never go to the bathroom again.
I mean, I don't blame her. I wouldn't go back in there either.
You're like, what the crap on someone?
Yes, I mean, these two small children crawled out of your toilet. I wouldn't go back either. I would not.
Like, we're going to have to figure something else out, guys, because I'm not doing it.
It's like, no,
absolutely
not.
Although, to your credit, she listened to them, even though their children literally covered in crap.
Yes. And she was really sweet about that, like helping them clean up and
Oh my, that was hilarious. Also, loved the guards.
Mm-hmm.
That I've forgotten their names of.
Yeah, I
I
lost
feel like
it.
they were very generic names.
I think they were, but I liked the one who kept reappearing, but I can't remember his name.
Harold was one of them, but that's not the one we're mentioning. Harold's the other one. Joshua?
Oh, yeah, there we
Is it
go.
Joshua?
Probably.
Yep, Harold and Joshua.
I thought it was also really interesting, just an interesting way that T. Kingfisher pulled off the fact that the Duchess was a person.
Mm-hmm.
And she could be a vulnerable woman and turn around when she was then giving orders to her troops and be the Duchess.
Yeah.
And I thought that was an interesting, an interesting little tidbit in there, and how well T. Kingfisher brought it off.
Yeah, because that's hard to do.
Because, I mean, people like monarchs and whatever, you don't view them as people at a certain point.
Yeah.
But they still are a person. And I liked how she brought off the Duchess as being an actual person who was scared of things and whatever, but she could also completely shift and rally to be the Duchess that people needed her to be.
Yeah.
The leader.
She's like, I am the Duchess still. Which I feel like a lot of books I've read that, they have the ruler that is really good at being a ruler or whatever. That sometimes has a bit of a softer side, but I don't feel like they ever get quite the emotional range that T. Kingfisher gave the Duchess.
Mm-hmm. It was an interesting moment where she's like, yeah, we'll die, but we'll go out fighting.
We'll go out the bang.
But then she also turned around and kind of was pretending she didn't think they were going to lose.
Oh, yeah, and she gave like a speech and all of that.
Even though she definitely thought they were going to lose.
Everyone thought they were going to lose.
But,
they should have lost.
They should have lost. But I felt like it was a great portrayal of someone who is a good leader.
Yes.
Because, there's a difference between someone who seems like a good leader and someone who is not a good leader at all. And, the whole, it's hard to quite put, because she wasn't perfect. That was the thing.
And she's very clear about not being perfect. Yeah. And that's actually one of the things I liked is she knew the situation should never have gone to that point, and that was her fault. Like she never said, it was this person's fault. It was this person. She's like, no, I failed you. Like, I should have done something before now.
And she should.
She should have, yeah.
And everyone, including her, knew that.
Yeah. But she didn't ever feel like, it's everyone else's fault. Or she could have easily just have blamed Oberon and be like, well, if he hadn't started it,
Yeah. Which I mean, true.
Yeah.
If he hadn't been a douchebag.
Yeah.
And wanted, like, they all...
Always power. Always power.
Like, I feel like that was such a typical old white male type of thing. Like, yes. Much. Isn't that always what you're like?
We were slightly wrong. It's the gold in general.
Oh, the gold. I didn't...
Close enough. We said gold.
Oh, well.
Close enough.
I actually also liked that in the end with the Golden General talking to her. And that conversation they had at the very end where he was basically saying, I got into it for the same exact reason as you did. Someone failed me too.
Right?
Like we all get into this because people failed. Mm-hmm. Because our leaders failed us. And so we had to step up. We shouldn't have had to step up.
No.
But we did, because what else were we supposed to do?
Because it's either that or you and everyone you love dies. So it's not even just you, but... Because, like, if Mona hadn't done anything, the whole city was going to go. Mm-hmm. Like... And you realize how bad it got when literally the whole city is banking on a 14-year-old to save your city who only works with bread.
Yes.
Like, things are bad at that point.
Yeah. I also liked how before the battle, the Golden General also wrote her the letter of Like, don't underestimate yourself.
Yes, that was very good. And be creative. And
yeah, I thought it was really good advice. Just, he was like, yeah, maybe other wizards are more powerful than you, but the best wizards who have done the most have not necessarily been the most powerful.
Yeah.
They've been the most inventive.
Yeah. Although I love she was like, that was not what I wanted him to say.
She's like, I wanted like a step 1, step 2, step 3, win a war.
She's like, here's the secret weapon thing. She's
yes.
like, I wanted there to be something. No.
And she's like, and you're saying, be creative. Thank you.
She's like, I didn't want a pep talk. I wanted a Hail Mary.
Yes. I wanted a Deus Ex Machina. Right? Hello, why don't you tell me where there's some fantastical weapon hidden in the armory? That was what I wanted.
And he's like, you'll do great, sweetie.
She's like, screw you.
Which honestly fair. Because he wasn't facing death, she was.
Well, he was coming, but he wasn't there.
He's like, I can't teleport. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah. And actually that was another like sad time when the wizard died.
Oh yeah, Master
Gillian?
Master Gildan.
Yeah.
That.
Gildan.
Yeah. So Gildan.
It was so sad. I mean, he knew he was risking getting killed by summoning the army back, but he also knew, again, if he didn't summon the army back,
it would be even worse.
But it was so sad that it did cost him his life, and he'd been so good to Mona, and he was so actually one of the few loyal ones left.
I know, which is of course why he got killed, but and like you only get him for like 7 pages.
But he was memorable
so attached.
Somehow.
Like in 7 pages, you're like, because he's very sweet, also very wise, and like literally as he was dying, like Burns Spring.
He was still defending them, still fighting for them. Which mad props to this guy.
I know.
Like literally in the process of dying, he's like, "Oh, bitch, you're going to suffer for that along with me. I may be dying, but I'm gonna get you one last time."
Right. Well, also it bought Mona time because she was also stuck in there,
and there was nothing for her to fight with. There was no bread or anything.
Yeah, there was nothing for her to be able to do. So he's like, "Okay, we're gonna buy her some time real quick, and also screw you."
Yeah. So props to him and his final act.
Yeah.
But
I felt so bad.
It was really sad that he died.
I didn't want him to die. I was shocked too. I did not see that coming.
I mean, I kind of thought something bad was going to happen to him.
Oh no, I knew something bad was going to happen to him. I just didn't realize it was going to be that quick. I thought maybe we'd have like a few, a little bit of time with him, but no. Just a guy came out of nowhere and was like, I stab.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I knew he was going to pop out pretty soon because he could, like, his weird thing with being able to smell wizards. That's just weird. Yeah, it's really weird. He was a creepy character.
Like, ugh.
You definitely had no problems hating him.
Oh, no. He's very hateable.
Very.
You're just like... So I was delighted when Bob burned him, and I was delighted when Master Gillian burned him, and I was like, everyone just burn him. That's fine.
Yes. And then he gets his skull kicked in.
Which honestly was too good of a death for him, but...
Although, speaking of Bob, I loved his moment when like, the battle's beginning, and they throw Bob... or bits of Bob at them, and Bob is just like, "You're going down."
I was like, "I will murder your face off."
It's like, and Mona's like, I may have put a little too much in.
That was so funny. She's like, I may have gone too hard.
I loved how she was like talking about how she's like telling Bob how great he is and how wonderful he is, and like how Bob's like, "Yes,
Yes,
You're
I
right.
am.
I
am.
really am.
Bob is secretly a cat in sourdough form.
Bob is a cat. And he's like, yeah, he really is, because like cats can also be so vengeful.
He was.
He's like, you dare.
He's like,
you
I
dare.
kill you. And he did.
He did.
He did kill them. And it was very specific that Bob was killing some of them.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, all right.
He's just like, no.
Don't piss off Bob. Got it.
Mm-hmm.
I also loved the evil gingerbread men.
Yes.
Hilarious.
They were so funny. I loved how she wasn't even able to control them, and then her gingerbread man, like, who is so much smaller than the and yeah, he's just like,
I will command you.
He's like, straighten up.
Listen, I'm sad her gingerbread man never got a name.
I know.
I really wanted her to name him, and she never did, because it was like her other familiar. It's like she had two familiars.
She did have two familiars,
and I'm like, you should name him. And she never did. But the evil cookies was hilarious to me.
Mm-hmm. On the note of the evil cookies, though, I loved that there was still one somewhere causing problems in the very end.
Just wreaking havoc in the kitchen. Because apparently the head cook was not a nice person.
Yes. Apparently no one liked the cook. But apparently neither did the cookie.
The cookie was like, F this lady. Which fair.
And I just love that even though she thought she'd taken care of all the like bad cookies, there's still one.
Well, and you think about it, she could have pulled the magic back. She said that's something she could do.
Mm-hmm.
There's nowhere she'd pull the magic out.
Yeah.
And she didn't. She left it.
She said she would think about taking a look, but she wasn't that concerned, especially since she didn't like the cook either.
I was like, so you're leaving it just to annoy the cook, which honestly we love to see it.
Mm-hmm.
The cook kind of deserved it. I love how she's like, got any rat poison? And everyone's like, what? No one's eating it, I think. Hopefully.
And I think she also put like cayenne into it,
yep,
and just like did. All kinds of stuff.
All kinds of things, and she just focused on making them as bad as she could.
And I thought it was funny too, where she's like, "This goes against all my instincts."
Yeah.
As a baker, this is not even slightly what I am. Like, this is almost a breach of ethics.
Yes, this is like treason to me, but alright.
But it worked.
Yeah, it did. It worked. I mean, as far as we know, yeah, the little cookies at least did something.
Mm-hmm.
Caused some pandemonium, if nothing else. Because they were like, what the heck? They like set their food tent on fire. And,
yes.
And I was like, yay, arson. I'm like, honestly, you should have armed them with like matches before you sent them out.
Right?
But that would have taken care of everything real quick. Still, hilarious. Which is, I understand the little guy on the cover now.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Because I'm pretty sure that's meant to be one of the evil cookies.
I think so.
Because the good cookie has a smile, not a frown.
Mm-hmm.
And they can't actually change their face.
Yes.
So.
Although that was another hilarious thing, was Aunt Tabitha on the bread golems, where she insisted on putting a smile.
Everyone was like, what is wrong with you? They're supposed to be scary. And she's like, fine, I'll add angry eyebrows.
Yes.
So now they look happy about being mad.
Yes.
That's great. Also, just the giant bread golems were just amazing. Honestly, she did so much better than I thought she would have holding them off. Like, because realistically, there was no way they were going to win.
Yeah.
Even with her help. And, like, I was impressed it did as well as it did. I don't know why they thought that it would, like, they thought, like, this will be fine. This is enough.
They were just hoping to hold out until the Golden General could get there and the army.
But that's like, there's no way they're going to hold out for 2 days.
No.
Absolutely no way.
Well, and that was kind of what the Duchess even hinted that she thought. She's like, yeah, we're screwed, but we're going to try.
Yeah. But it kind of sucks that it was all on Mona to, like,
Yeah.
handle
Well, and that was part of the whole thing with the conversation at the end,
Yeah.
where the general was like, no, yeah, absolutely.
It
We
never-
all failed you. You shouldn't have had to do
it.
this.
Yeah, it should never have been on your shoulders to take care of it. He's right. He's like, heroes never want to be heroes.
Mm-hmm.
They're just not given a choice.
Yeah. And it wasn't fair to put it all on a 14-year-old. But,
No.
2, there was also nothing else they could do, per se. They were doing everything they could do.
And I did like that the Gold General didn't give her any empty words of,
Mm-hmm.
you know, they're doing the best they can and all that, which is all true too. The Duchess was doing the best she could. Everyone's human. I mean, Oberon wasn't doing the best he could, but, you know. But he didn't say that. And he didn't make excuses for other people. He just said, I know.
Mm-hmm.
You're right. It never should have been.
It shouldn't have been up to Spindle and Mona to save a city.
Yeah. Like, that never should have been a thing. And he never pretends like it's okay. Which I do like.
Although, I also loved where Spindle was like, and I can't remember what all the boys were called, but he's like, oh, my friends.
There was Slug who wouldn't go, then One-Eyed Benji and Leaky Peg and Crackhand.
Yes.
Just like, what did I just read?
Yes. And he's like, oh, they can help. And I loved where the Duchess was like, I wonder if I could put them on the council later.
Like, could they be on the cabinet? And Spindle's like, yeah, I don't think so.
But that whole bit was so funny.
Yes. Although am I also the only one who enjoyed the fact that technically Spring Greenman died because he hesitated, because one was like, you have something in your teeth, and he's like, seriously?
Yes.
She's like, what, you do? And then he dies because he hesitated because she pointed out.
He's like, that's really what we're
You're
focusing on?
right now? She's like, yes. She's like, yes, it is.
He died because she baffled him.
Basically. And like, she's like, I was gonna die and it didn't matter anymore. You have something stuck in your teeth. I'm like, you lived because you bothered to say it.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just like, what? Although the audacity of him saying, what is wrong with you? I'm like, what is wrong with you, sir?
Right? Seriously.
The audacity of you even saying that.
It's, yeah, like pot kettles are.
Right? I'm just like, his main problem is he talks too much. That's always the downfall of bad guys. They always talk too much.
Mm-hmm.
If you just did crap, no one would have a chance to stop you. But you just gotta run your mouth.
Right. That's why assassins are always known as the silent ones.
Right. And they get stopped on.
I'm going to, since we were talking about his death, I'll bring up that thing.
Which thing?
The spoiler for the end.
Oh. I don't want to talk about it.
I actively cried when, because Mona, she knew they were completely screwed.
Oh, yeah.
She decided she was going to expel all her magic and really kill her.
Yeah.
Because expending all of your magic into something, but
Kills you.
yeah, it would have killed her, and she was already barely hanging on, and she mentioned she knew if she did this last thing, what was keeping her heart going and etc. would stop.
Yeah.
But it would do a lot of damage to the enemy and hopefully do enough.
Yeah.
To give them a chance, because her golems were down and everything else.
Which realistically, it wouldn't probably have worked. So
theoretically, probably not.
It's probably good that she ended up not doing it, but
yeah, although it was funny.
Then she would have died for no reason.
Yeah, it was funny though how it was chocolate chip dough that she was left to use.
Chocolate chip dough.
Wasn't it? Wasn't it her aunt who was like, who did this?
Yeah. It's like, who did this? Who who bothered? And it was like a bougie bakery.
Yeah, a super bougie baker. She's like,
Of
who
course.
did? Yeah, she's like, really?
She's like,
You
of
made
course.
this bougie.
She's like, we just wanted dough.
Like, and you put chocolate chips in it and all this
This-
crap. How dare you?
It's like, really?
This is not what we told you to make. It was kind of sweet how all the bakeries got involved and everyone got involved in giving.
Oh, yeah.
It was sweet, but it was so funny.
The blacksmith was really nice too.
Yeah, but her just being like, the
Really?
audacity of them putting chocolate chips in
It's like, why are you wasting our time?
But that was funny. But
We got sidetracked.
yeah, but you kind of need, in this moment, you kind of needed a moment of funny anyway.
Yes, you really did.
Because
this is not looking good.
it was, yeah. And then it got worse.
Yep.
Because Molly looked at her and she knew what she was going to do.
Yeah.
And Molly didn't even have to be there, really.
And she wasn't gonna be.
She wasn't going to be. But she chose to come and save them.
Yeah.
And then
I don't know if she was gonna save them to begin with. Like, to save everyone to begin with.
I don't know that she was. But she wanted to save Mona and Spindle.
Yeah. She wanted to save those two. And I think she saw what it was doing to Mona.
Oh, yeah, it's pretty obvious. And she knew when Mona asked her aunt and the guards and stuff to take her out there, she knew what she was going to do.
Yeah.
And, oh my gosh, when she said goodbye to her familiar.
Oh, I know.
When they put their heads together.
Mag, no.
And like that
So
moment,
sad.
I know, I knew what she was going to do at that point.
I did too. As soon as she was saying goodbye to her horse, I was like, don't you do it.
And then she gets on, and she goes and slays like a queen.
Yes. Literally single-handedly saves the city.
She single-handedly won an entire war.
And like everyone was like, we had no idea she had that kind of power.
Yeah. Because she didn't want to use it in war.
She didn't want people to know.
And she didn't want
to
use it like that.
Obviously, it broke her to do it the first time. So she never wanted to do it again.
She knew they would die.
Yeah.
And the people she actually cared for wouldn't make it. And that Mona wasn't going to stop.
Yeah.
She was going to do it instead. Also, the other thing that really broke me about her death was all the horses gathering around her. Even though she was already dead, the magic was still hanging on.
Yeah. Which is actually fairly realistic, I think. Like, you know, if something happens to you, your horses are around, they are going to come to you.
Oh, yeah.
So, that was, yeah. I was like, no.
And then when Nag laid down with her.
Oh my gosh.
That murdered me. I was literally crying. I was like, oh my gosh.
Which is shocking because you never cry. I cry at everything, so of course I cried. But you like hardly ever
I'm like a
cry.
little bit teary even thinking about
I'm trying really hard not to think about it. That's why I keep looking up. Because I'm like, I don't want to, nope, we're not thinking about it. We're just going to talk about it.
It was so tragic.
It was so sad.
When she didn't even want to be there.
Molly, no. I even texted you that.
I know, yeah, you did.
Because she had already read it at that point, so I was texting her like a play-by-play of certain parts.
Yes. You also texted me, no, guilty.
I did. But I think Molly got the bigger no.
Yes, she did. Well, and I liked that everyone, in the Duchess and the Golden General, acknowledged how much they failed Molly, too.
Yeah.
And it was...
And they really did.
And they really did, because she wouldn't have had to do any of that. She would have continued to live on just fine if they hadn't failed her twice. I mean, I feel like that was kind of the whole point of the book, was neither of them should have had to do that. Spindle shouldn't have had to do that. He shouldn't have lost his older sister. His sister shouldn't have been fighting for her life.
Yeah.
And none of them should have been forced to run from
Oberon or Elle?
Oberon, yeah, that's the one. But he was hunting them for no real reason.
Yeah. Well, Elgar was the one that was hunting them.
Well, yes, but he sent him.
That's true, yeah.
And they shouldn't have any of them. Most of them were young kids. And none of them should have had to be fighting for their lives or running for their lives. Mm-hmm. And he forced that.
So glad you died.
Well, we don't know that he died for sure.
Pretty sure he died.
We hope.
I'm saying he died.
Definitely.
I want him to have died.
Yes. But it was such a good story with and technically it was a happy ending.
Yes.
Because almost everyone lives.
To be fair, yeah, the fact that almost everyone lives, like, realistically, more people probably should have died. Mm-hmm. But they didn't. So
I mean, Bob was a big part of that.
Yes.
Bob and the bad cookies. They're just like, screw you all.
I mean, even the golems, because they could block.
Oh, yeah. The golems did a lot.
And they confounded the guys who were out there, like, how do you fight this?
Yes.
The can-can? Doing the can-can with the golems.
They're like, what is happening?
I like how even the people on the good side were like, are they doing the can-can?
Yes, they are.
Yes, they are. Yeah, battle can-can, said the Duchess wisely.
Ah, yes.
Very old tactical maneuver, used to defeat the waltzing berserkers of West Quillmark, as I recall. You just made that up. Well, obviously.
Yes.
She's like, duh, I made it up.
Of course I made it up.
What did you think? She's like, yes, because we have bread golems all the time.
Yes, definitely. But that was funny, too.
It's the battle can-can. Oh, I would love to see it. I feel like this is a book that would make a pretty good movie, just because it would be so funny.
Yes, for sure. I also loved, like, her aunt, like, just in full, like, armor, just, like, walloping people.
And then we are like, the frick?
They're like, we have bread golems, we have evil dough starters attack. What is happening?
Like, this is just, like, middle-aged woman just charging us like a banshee. Like, what are we doing?
Yes. I mean, you just also have to be like, the perseverance of these enemies. I would not. I'd been like, you know what? You keep your city.
Right? Like, I don't want it that badly. Honestly.
It's like this. I've had enough already. It's enough. You go. We'll leave.
The evil creepy cookies would have been enough. I'd be like, no, never mind.
Yes.
It's not worth it.
Yes, but then it was also like they had such perseverance, but it also attested so much to Molly that they're like, F this. Yeah. Ghost horses, I'm done.
We're done.
I'm so done.
Ghost and skeleton horses? Yes. Absolutely not.
They're like, forget it. We're leaving. And they definitely were trampled as well.
Oh yeah, a lot of them were trampled, and they split the whole army in half and all that. Well, because like she said, there was hundreds of horses that came out of the city, but there were thousands outside the city, because that's where they buried them. Yes. And so, yeah, they were all screwed.
Yeah, and they're like, nothing is worth this.
No.
It was a ride.
I feel like this very spirited episode kind of tells you how the book was.
Yes, and it was an immediate 5-star from me, even though it made me cry.
Well, you immediately were telling other people to read it.
I was like, okay, everyone needs to read this book, because it's funny, but it also is kind of hard-hitting. At the same time, it's sad.
Although I can kind of see where they're like, this is not middle grade.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of the messages would have gone over kids' heads, probably.
Yeah.
Characters are very lovable, other than the villains.
Obviously.
They're very hateable.
And the characters are very realistic, which is nice. Like, everyone has depths. Thank goodness. And I also gave it 5 stars, because how can you not? How can you not give this 5 stars? This absolutely lived up to what I thought it would be. Because I bought this a while ago. So I was like, there's no way with this title that this book is going to be bad.
Right.
There's no way. And then I read other Kingfishers, and like, I was like, okay, it's Kingfisher. There's no way this can be bad. But it exceeded my expectations, actually.
Yeah, it exceeded mine as well, to be honest.
I thought it'd be a lot more cozy. It's not cozy.
Not really. I mean, it's cute in a lot of places, but
yeah,
I would not call it cozy, really.
Yeah, I know a lot of people have been like, this is cozy fantasy. No, it's not. It is fantasy.
I don't think it's cozy.
But it's not cozy fantasy. If you read this book with us, hopefully you also enjoyed. Let us know what you thought. Or if you read it independently of us, that's fine too. Let us know what you thought of the book in the comments. And next month is Last Devil to Die. Is that right?
Yes, I think so.
I really need to read the third one so that we can read the fourth one. But so Last Devil to Die by Richard Osman. It is number 4 in the series, so if you don't want to read it with us, that's okay. I haven't read the third one, so I gotta read that real quick before next month. Fine, what?
What?
Why are all the men in my life weird?
I don't know.
In different ways, but weird nonetheless. Anyway.
Thanks for listening to Magic and Mayhem. All right, bye.